Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name's Chris and this is Restoration Rescue. Now this video is coming to you in November, but today is in February. And the reason for that is we have a surprise coming. And now the surprise isn't to you guys, unfortunately, it's to a very close family friend. So we're going to tell a little bit of a story before we get to work. So the truck that we are going to surprise is the 454. So a couple of years ago, a family friend of ours passed away, and we were close with his cousin as well. And his cousin sold us the 454. Unfortunately, we spun a bearing, and it has been sitting on its wheels and just no engine, no transmission in it after we tore it apart. But now the goal is to start getting the engine back together. And the reason why this is November is because I don't want to show it off until it's ready. So the plan is to take the 454 along with our C10 down to Nashville for C10 Nationals. They are both registered currently and ready to be there. So we just need to get this truck ready. So we have a couple things that we need to do to get it ready. We need to rebuild the transmission and we need to rebuild the engine. So the engine just came back from the machine shop actually today. So we are going to start working towards building it in the background of the main thing on our channel and have this ready for 454 or sorry, C10 Nationals. So we have a lot of work to do, but we have the engine and we have all the parts. We just have to buy a couple of supplemental parts to get it running. We have gaskets, a cam, we have a crank, we have everything we need. And now let's zoom in on the block. So our goal though, before we reveal and you see how good this block looks, is to do this all in one episode. So I want to get this truck done, and in this video also you will see the reveal at C10 Nationals if everything goes to plan. So here we go without further ado. I know you guys are sick of me talking. We are going to get to this, and this is absolutely incredible. Here is our engine back from the machine shop. Now, it is not ready for paint at this course, but we are going to have to get all of this back down to bare metal and get it primed and painted. But otherwise, this thing looks incredible. We are absolutely incredibly stoked to get this together. So we are going to take off the mains on this video, get them made sure that they're the right size, everything. We have new ARP studs or bolts coming for the entire build. We have a new crank, like I said. We have the engine on the machine shop ready, or on the engine stand ready to be built. And that's what we're going to start doing. So let's go ahead and start stripping off the main caps, making sure they stay in the right position. So the plan for this video is not only to build the whole engine and the whole transmission, get it in, get that truck running, but also how to show you guys how to build it. So this is going to be my second main engine build. It's going to be a blast. We're going to have a lot of fun while we do this. So we have a lot of cleaning. We have a lot of stuff to do. But let's go ahead and start removing these main caps so that we can start setting up the crank to get that dropped in and just going through the build to get it running and driving. All right, so now we are going to take out all these bolts. So they're 13/16, and I'm just going to pull them all out. All right, so now all of the caps are loose, and now we just need to shimmy them back and forth until they pull out. Now, this is important. Other than throwing the bolts on the ground, which is a bad idea, is to keep them numbered. So number 4 is going to be the one closest to the end. So what we're going to do is we are going to lay them out in a specific pattern because they all have specific places that they need to go on the block. So 4 is going to be right here. This one is labeled 3, 3, 6, and another 4. So we got to figure this out. Actually, right here, it says 1, 2, 3, and 4. And obviously, the one down there is for the oil pump. So now we have all of our bearings as well as the final back one that already has thrust bearings on it. So what we need to do is take off all the caps and start putting bearings in so that I can seat them and get the crank over here and we can drop the crank into the block. All right, so part of getting the engine prepped is cleaning everything down. So I have a rag, has some brake clean on it, and I'm just gonna wipe down the engine. And you can see how dirty it comes right from the machine shop. Not a big deal, we'll just clean it up. This cleaning is our most important item. Having a clean engine is going to be mightily important to the build. Everything being perfectly clean, it's almost like if we were working in an operating table, because every little piece of dirt can cause an issue internally in the engine. So now that is where it needs to be, and everything is getting to be clean. So now our goal is to get the bearings in the engine and set up. So let's go ahead, open up our bearings, and just lay them out. All right, so here we are at the back of the engine with our rear main seal. So the rear main seal is here, and it is obviously cut in half. We have two parts of it. You can see the other in the bag. So what we need to do is place it in. Now, some people will push it just like that, keep it even, and that's how they would like it to be. However, we are going to follow what we did on the last engine and put it a little offset so that when the bearing goes on top, it sits flush with the other bearing and they kind of squeeze and they're not at the edge right here. So now let's go ahead, continue, and we are going to start putting in bearings. So we are going to start with this rear bearing. Once I open this bearing set, and we are going to drop in the bearing. So now let's take a look. So the bearing on the back side has this lip, and that lip lines up with the engine block. So we are just going to drop in our bearing. And press it in. So now that is where it needs to go. The lip right here fits, and so does the other one. So now on the top, we would put the other cap. Now we're going to go down the line and install the other bearings. All right, so now we are going to drop our crankshaft in for the very first time. So there it is, all installed with the crank in the engine. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put all of the caps back on, tighten them down with the bearings installed, and measure our gaps. So everything should line up pretty perfectly, as this came balanced because this is a brand new crank for this engine. The last one, if you can remember, had a spun bearing. So this thing is all brand new. It has already been balanced from the machine shop, and this thing is looking absolutely incredible. It's already got a gear on the front, and it looks perfect. So let's go ahead, put on these caps again. We are going to torque them down all in 3 stages. So the 3 stages are going to be probably 33, 67, and 100. That's what they take, and we're going to get them put in. And then we're going to take them right back out, measure, and go from there. So everything looks perfect. This thing is perfectly balanced and looking amazing. We already have a wood drift key already in the crank as well. So let's go ahead and start putting those caps and the bearings back into the caps and getting everything set up. All right, so now the goal is to torque everything to spec for the first time, and then we're going to pull them all back off, check our clearances, which everything should be perfect as I just came back from the machine shop, like I said. Then we have to start lubing everything up and putting it all back together. So let's go ahead, start torquing this thing down. First 33, 66, and then 100 pound-feet of torque for each bolt. And we are going to start on the inside and work our way out, so we add like torque throughout. So we're not going to spin the crank just yet. Everything is looking good so far. We are really excited with how it's going already. The engine looks great. We are very, very pumped. So let's go ahead and start torquing these down. So we've untorqued everything, got everything off, and they all look perfect. Now, that video didn't come out, unfortunately, so we didn't show the original torque specs going in. Not a big deal. We're going to pull it out. Now we're going to start lubing everything up, get everything set where they need to go, and getting it in and torqued down. So let's go ahead, flip you guys around, and I'm going to pull the crank. All right, so now we are back on the engine block side of the motor, and we have some engine line assembly lube. So we have that, and we have also another racing brand that we are going to use. So we also have the high performance Lucas oil assembly lube, and we are going to start lubing up the engine so that we don't have a dry start. So this is the same lube we used on the C10, and if you haven't seen that engine build, I definitely recommend it. We built that one with Mahara, our buddy, which you should definitely check out his YouTube channel if you haven't already. He doesn't post as much, but he is definitely going to come back and start doing some more. But we are going together right now and lubing everything up, and then we're going to come back, use our finger, and just smooth out all that lube, like make it look good. So now just take your finger and kind of lube up that whole bearing to make sure there's no dry spots on it. Oh man, this is nice and sticky. This is going to make for a good first start on this engine, and make sure it is 100% dry, lubricated, not dry. That is the opposite of what we want. And I want a nice lubed up start to our very first start of this engine. So everything measured out perfectly. Now I'm going to grab a towel, clean off my finger, but everything's lubed up and we're ready for the crank to be dropped back in. So let's go ahead, grab this thing, and I'm going to drop it in, so you guys might need to watch out. All right, she is in and looking very nice. So now we need to do the same with the caps and lube them up as they go in. Obviously, for the final cap, we also need to put in our seal. So now what we're going to do as well is we are changing bolts. So we've also decided to go with some ARP studs, or head bolts. Sorry, no studs, just some regular head bolts. All right, so we have that all lubed up. I'm going to smear on that lube, that nice and in there. And now, we were talking about before, is right here you see an arrow. That means that's going to face the dead front of the engine. All right, so that one is in, and we're going to go ahead and knock the rest out. All right, so now we have all of the caps on, and we now have to torque them to spec. So now let's go ahead and grab, get rid of our towels real quick, which are going to cover the engine when we're not working on it, just to protect everything and make everything okay. So let's go ahead, get our main bolts right here from ARP. And right now we're just going to toss them kind of in where they need to go. Obviously we're going to pull them out because they need to be lubed, and they also have some washers that are going to go on them as well. So let's just go ahead and kind of throw them where they're supposed to go and move along. All right, so what we're doing now is we're just putting the washers on the bolts. We have not lubed them up at all. And if we look at the washer, we're going to get up nice and close to this on the ARP. You see that it has an indented side and a flat side. Now, the flat side is what goes to the block. So we put the flat side in, and we just drop the bolts in. So we're going to do that for the rest of these real quick. Get all of the washers on the bolts, and we're going to make sure that this thing can turn. I do need to see if I can find myself a crank bolt, but it should be able to move pretty easily inside of this, as everything was perfect size, everything was perfect. This machine shop does a great job. This is the second engine I've done. I used to work around a guy who used to build race engines and use this guy consistently and never had issues with the guy. Also, this is the same one who helped us out last time when I screwed up a piston end cap, was able to redo everything, and he didn't even charge us for that. Now, we did get charged this time. I'm not sponsored by him, obviously. Great little shop here in Highland Springs, Virginia. It's called Citizens. Guy is great. English is not great, but hey, he does great freaking work. And that's what we're here for, is the work. I don't care if he barely speaks English or he speaks a completely different language that nobody knows, as long as he can read what I write and do what I ask. So everything came out perfect. We were super excited. He also bought us all the parts necessary to put this engine pretty much back together. We have a new harmonic balancer. We have everything that we're going to need to build this block. So One thing that he did this time is that he put the piston rings on already, which is awesome. He also put the pistons on the rods, which is a big help for us because I don't know how to do wrist pins. That is a little above my pay grade. So we are going to work on getting these all together. Now, this engine also came with the gasket kit, which really makes life easy and a lot of fun to build. So now what we're doing is just getting everything in, and we are going to get everything snugged up once I get the lube onto all these bolts. So I'm going to put on all the washers and then do that. He also got us an oil pump, which is awesome. It got lifters. The only thing we need to do is buy push rods. We have a cam that he came, and yes, we are going with a little bit more of a choppy cam because that's what we like here. Make it sound good, and we're going to change the exhaust a little bit on the truck and make it sound a little bit more mean. So now we have everything lined up here. So what we're going to do now is we're going to pull each bolt, lube it up, and then we are going to snug it in and get them all snugged. And then we are going to go back and torque everything again. 33 all around, 66 all around, and then a final 100 foot-pound torque spec to get the engine and the crank all together. So let's go ahead, start pulling each bolt and getting it lubed up. So now what we're going to do is just snug all these down and get them up against pretty much the block or up against the caps, snug, but nowhere near any sort of torque spec. So just because how it is, you don't really have that much of the ratcheting power right now. We're obviously just going to get them snugged up to each of the caps. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. And once we're done with that, we're going to start torquing it to spec. All right, so now everything is in, and now it's time to torque everything to spec. So we are going to see, so obviously everything still spins freely like it's supposed to. It's going to be a little sticky with all that assembly lube still in there, but everything is looking good. It moves freely and smoothly, nothing that I need to worry about. So now, let's take out the big old torque wrench, and we are going to set this to 33 foot-pounds. All right, there is 33, and we are going to start from the center and work our way out. So on the first torque spec, you're not going to hear a lot of clicking from the torque wrench, and that is only because there's not that much torque on this bolt. So you hear a little bit of the clicking there, right there. So now we are just going to move out. And obviously we see we have to move it a little bit to get them torqued up. And like I said, we're going to start from the center and move out. Okay. It does not have that click that you expect. All right, let's go to this end cap. Start in the center. Good. And last but not least, the rear. All right, so everything here is down to the first torque spec. So let's ratchet this baby up to 66. And it doesn't hurt to go over them a second time just to make sure. Now I know I have all of these three, but if I came back and said, I don't know, instantly you get that click. So now let's So now we move up to 100 foot-pounds of torque. All right, so now they're all torqued to spec, and we still move nice and freely at the crank. Now, what we need to do is we're going to flip half of this over, and we are going to start getting everything set for our pistons. Let's get my name tag off there. We have some parts, obviously, that are going to come off of this and redone. A little bit more cleaning to do, especially on the bottom. But right now, one thing that I want to say is I absolutely love building an engine. I had an absolute blast when we did the first one. And it's really cool is that all of this hard work, you'll never see. You'll see it obviously on the channel, but if I did this without video, you would never see this. You would never see all the hard work that goes into building this engine. So what we need to do now is flip it over, and we are going to rub some automatic transmission fluid in the bores to clean them. So we are going to set that in there, and we're going to start working on getting that to where we can put our pistons in. So that's going to be a lot of fun. So let's go ahead and roll this engine over. This is actually a pretty good spot to where we need to go, because what we're going to do is we're going to clean the bore. Now, this is going to be our even side of pistons. So 2, 4, 6, and 8. The driver's side in a Chevrolet is going to be your odds. So what we're going to do is we are going to work on getting everything on this cleaned, get that ATF fluid in there, and clean out some piston bores. We're going to let that happen, clean it out pretty good, get everything, straightened out. Now, let's take a rag and just put it down in there. Not much dirt, whatever. But now if I take ATF and put it in there and do it as well, it's going to come out really dark. But we have a lot of work to do, so let's go ahead and start putting ATF down each of the cylinder bores and start working on getting to the point where we can do pistons. But we have some beautiful new cross hatching in this thing. The machine shop, again, did a glorious job getting this thing set up.
So now that we have a beautiful crank in there, it is time to continue flipping it over, do the other side, and now we're about ready to start dropping some of these beautiful pistons in this block. So we have pushed the engine outside and we have these bores all cleaned out and ready for the pistons. So they are still a little bit greasy, which is great. But now what we're going to do is we are going to do the even side pistons. These are going to look really good. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to get my spring compressor, get it on, and start tapping in our first piston. What we're going to do is we're going to cover up the hole. We are also going to get the caps on to prevent the bolts from scratching our bore as it goes down. And then we're also going to lube everything up, get our and we're going to get our bearings lubed up so it's ready to go right on the crank. So the crank is awesome looking, it's clean, it's beautiful, and we just need to start dropping some pistons. So let's go get piston number 2, and we're going to put it on in. Then we will work on doing number 2, 4, 6, and 8, get those all squared away, flip the engine over, get the other one set up, and do 1, 3, 5, 7. So let's go grab piston number 2 and bring it on out. And now we're going to talk about our piston just a little bit. So this is our new meaty 454 piston that needs to go in the engine. So obviously the machine shop already put on our piston rings. Not a big deal. Very happy. One less step that I have to do. But we're going to drop it in just like that. So what I was talking about is we're going to remove these, remove the bottom cap, put our bearings in, get those set. And then when we drop it in, we're going to put something over these so that when they settle and tighten down, or sorry, when they go down the bore, they're covered and they won't scratch our piston bore. So let's go ahead, get our bearings out and start getting this thing prepped to go right in that engine. All right, so we have this, the bearing, and it's clean, and we are going to drop it in. Now, just like we did on the crank, it's going to drop in just the same way. All right, there is a little mark there that lines up with the mark on the piston. Now we have part of rubber hose that we are going to put in, and then we are going to tap in the piston. Now I'm going to drop this in a little bit and get it kind of started in the bore. Now, this says already there's a dot right here. That means the front of the engine. Also on the side of the piston, there is a mark that says F, and that means that goes to the front of the engine. Now, we have everything set, and this piston is ready to go in. Minus, we're going to pull it back out and put a little bit of assembly lube on that bearing so that when it starts, it is not bone dry and it has a little bit of moisture on it, or grease or lube, before the engine starts. That's a very important piece to do because if you start it dry, it can ruin the engine. You get premature wear, stuff like that. So now you can see here, there is an F, same as the dot. That means that is the front of the engine. So we are going to slide this down into it. We're going to get the piston in. And now we're to a spot where we can't really go any further because our rings. So now what we're going to do is pull this back out a little bit, go get our ring compressor, compress our rings, and just tap the piston in. So now we have our compressor, and I already have this one set up. So now I just need to tighten it up to where it is the right size, and it compresses those springs down where it's not going to go anywhere. Now I take the butt end of a hammer and we start tapping it in. All right. It's looking good down here. On this side as well. Going in where it needs to go. Now we're past the ring, so that can go down. And we're to the top of the bore. So now our piston is all the way in. So we'll flip around to the other side. And you can see that we have the piston in. And now we can take our rubber pieces off, as that is down to where it's supposed to be. Get the other one off. Boom. Now we need to go get our cap. And we've cleaned off the cap now. And we have our bearing. So now, same as before, you see the lip here. We're going to drop our bearing in and make sure that that is flush and down. So I'm going to dry it off real quick. That nice and smooth, clean. And take our assembly lube. Get some on there. Be a little liberal with it. That's fine. Too much is not a bad thing. All right. So now we put it in. We just don't want the lines to match up. So we are going to put this in just like that. Now this should pretty much just slide on. So now that piston is pretty much in. Let's go get the nuts and we will start to screw them on. And we'll bolt those in. All right, so now we are going to get our torque wrench out and torque those to spec. So these are aftermarket piston rods, so they are torqued to 70 foot-pounds. So all right. All right, and we have one piston in. So let's go get number 4 and do the same. All right, so we have one whole side done. So now we need to flip the engine over, clean up the other bores, and get the other 4 pistons set. And then we can start working on the top end of this engine.
All right, so we have the rotating assembly done on the 454. So next it's time to get some heads. Now, I don't have some of the parts for the oil pump, so I can't put on the oil pan yet. Plus, I have to do some serious cleaning on the oil pan, and we need to work on getting the whole thing painted. So now what we're going to do, though, is we're going to drop the head. So we're going to put the heads on, then we're going to put lifter or cam, and then lifters. So we'll build a little bit more of the top, then we can always put on the oil pan. That is not a big deal to put that on a little bit later. So everything is set and ready. So let's go ahead. We have the head gasket already in spot. Now we just need to pull out the head and put it on.
So the next thing that we're going to do here is we are going to install our cam. Now, I have a puller on the way to remove this sprocket. This is not the sprocket that we're going to go for the camshaft. It's going to be completely different. So let's go ahead and I'm going to start prepping my camshaft for installation. Now, this is our camshaft right here. So this is very, very important to not drop or not damage. Not that I've done that yet. And let's see, I'm going to pull her out. Let's see. Here is our camshaft. Now, the way we put it in is we're going to have to start lubricating everything. So this is our front side. Our front side goes in the in the engine like this, because this is what attaches to our sprocket for the camshaft sprocket. Now there's a camshaft sprocket and there's a crankshaft sprocket. Now we have gone a little bit of difference on our engine here on what we did. So what we're going to do is I am going to start lubing up our crank as we put it in. So I'm going to go get some assembly lube, and we're just going to start cranking down, and we're going to start trying to slide this thing in. Now, all of the cam bearings are already in from the machine shop, so that's all set up. So now it's just time to put in this. Now, after that, we can start putting in our lifters, which will be fun. I am going to flip the engine back over. So it's straight away in a second, and we are going to put this camshaft in. So we're just lubing up this, pretty much everything on here, just so that everything is nice and lubed for when it goes for its first start. Because then once it's started, obviously the engine's going to take over with oiling. All right, so now that I have the whole first level lubed up, we are going to start putting the crank in. So nice and easy. Oh, and we're in. All right, and now we have 2 levels in, and now it's just the same, going down and adding lube on everything. So we just gotta lube these up, and I'm nice and lubed up for when the lifters go in, so everything has a spot to ride. And there you go. We have installed the camshaft. Now, that's all set up. That's going to be awesome. Now we just have to put our gear on, and that will go together. Now what we'll do is we're going to clean up a little bit, and we're going to go get our lifters. Now our lifters have been soaking in some oil. The reason that is to get any air bubbles out of them, just make them good, because they're going to be filled with that anyway. So what we're going to do is I'm going to turn the engine around a little bit so we can all see what we're doing, and we're going to start dumping in some lifters. All right, so here we are. We did get the engine moved over. It didn't really want to, but we got it over. So now we have our lifters. Now I'm not going to dump the oil on it now because, well, we really have no place for the oil to go except the ground. So we have now dunked them, and we're just going to start dropping the lifters in. Well, that one is off. They should go in nice and easy. All right, so now we have all the lifters in and the cam is in. So now what we're waiting on is that puller, so that once it's here, I can work on getting the timing set on and get everything squared away. Now, I can't put the oil pan on yet because I'm waiting for my timing cover, and part of that is to lube all that up and get the cover on. I'm still waiting on the cover to arrive as well. Once the cover gets here, it'll go on the engine and we'll be good to go. Now, they did deck this head, we can tell. Don't have timing number or the block numbers or whatever. That's okay. So a lot of that oil is going to drain out, but at least we have some oil in there looking good. So what we have left to do on the bottom end to get it in the end, get ready, is to put on our oil pump. Now, the oil pump did not come fully assembled, so I do need to get that taken care of. So what happened is we had to order this, and the pump just came like this. So I do need to work on getting the pickup tube installed, clocked correctly, and just get it on. All right, so we used the puller, got the old one off and then the new one on for the crankshaft sprocket. Now it's time to put on our timing set. So we have our chain, we have our sprocket. Now, this sprocket did not come with a front-facing timing mark. It came with a backside one. That's okay. We made a little mark. I don't know if you guys can see it. Probably not. Yep, there it is. Right there to mark it. Now on the sprocket, there is a mark as well. Now, I already have turned everything to make sure it fits, so it is going to fit perfectly. Now our job is putting the timing chain together, putting the chain on the big sprocket, like so, and lining it up where this meets. All right. Get my chain off. Okay. And trying to line them all up, a little bit closer in here, and lining everything up where the timing chain all lines up precisely. Now, that's all set. And we just got to get it on that little timing mark. Now, let's see. Now we're tooth off. So I got to pull this off and drop it, turn it just one. So now we got that on. Oop. Kind of drop that, turn down a little bit, but we'll get this on. Oh, I'm one tooth off again. All right, pull that off. All right, so now that is on, and we are dot to dot. So now it's time to put in our bolts. So we did go with the ARP bolt, so get that started so the timing set won't move. And these are the 1/2-inch bolts. Now, with the 1/2-inch bolts, it requires 70 pound-feet of torque. Don't mind my head, I'm just grabbing some bolts. So we are going to put these on, and then we are going to torque them to spec. And now that little bit of play, that is okay. Nothing crazy on here for play. So now the timing chain is in. We'll hand tighten all those. And now we are going to get my torque wrench out wherever it may have fallen. Set it up to 70 foot-pounds of torque. Which is right there. We'll tighten it down. We'll grab our socket, wherever it may be, and we are going to torque it to spec. Now, this is probably going to have quite a bit to go because I don't think I'm 70 foot-pounds strong. And we're going to try and see, maybe I am almost 70 foot-pounds strong. So the last time you saw this engine block, it was only a short block. So we have done a little bit of work to it. We got the transmission rebuilt. We put the heads on, and we put the manifold on, and we put the whole front assembly together. However, when we were putting it into the engine, because we were trying to rush to get this thing ready for C10 Nationals, unfortunately, it fell through the wall, which you can kind of see behind me. Now, when it fell through the wall, it damaged my trans pan and it damaged the engine oil pan. So right now, we're kind of waiting on those parts to arrive, which are on order. So hopefully they'll be here soon and we'll be able to continue. But right now, what we're going to do is we're just going to clean it up a little bit, clean this, and maybe get some paint on the trans and get some paint on the engine so that it can actually look good. Now, the pan is going to come, and we're going to have to repaint that next week, and we're going to have to repaint. Now, the trans pan is actually normal color, so we're going to keep that. So we're going to work on cleaning this thing up a little bit more and getting it ready, because once it goes in, it's going to be there, and I don't want it to be too dirty. So let's go ahead. We're going to whip out some cleaning products, and we're just going to start cleaning. So we now have the engine bay cleaned up. It's what we took care of. We have the engine painted. We have the transmission painted. This thing is ready to go. However, we're still waiting on the pans to arrive. So we have an engine pan coming and a transmission pan with all the goodies inside. Yes, we have already rebuilt the trans, which is kind of disappointing that it broke. Same as we already rebuilt the engine. So now we just have to get it into here. Now we did, as you can see, it's shining again. We did wash it off a little bit. We still need to go through and give it a good polish once she's done. But I need to get the engine in first. Now we cleaned out part of the engine bay. It's looking good. But we have a lot of work left to do to get this thing running. So once we get it in, it's all about hooking things up and hooking things back together. Brakes. The brakes are fine, sorry. Like we have to hook up all of the oil lines, the transmission lines, the whole front end onto the truck so we can continue to drive it. And now it's going to be a little bit of a pain because of how we got it. So we're going to have to pull it up once we're done and back it out. Might have to bring it all the way around and just start turning it in so I can go that way. So we have a lot of work to do coming up, but that is a wrap for this week's video. As you saw, we kind of got through in the middle. I had some issues, so we go ahead and I just put the heads on without recording it. Got that on. Then we got the transmission built, and we did it really quick because they're trying to get it ready for the show. And now that's my fault because I'm a procrastinator in some events, so that's what happened there. So then when we went to put the engine in, you can see there's a hole in the wall over there. It fell through on the old engine hoist. So now we just need to replace the pans, make sure there's no damage inside the pan, and put it in the truck. Now the torque converter's in. Everything is in. We just need to bolt the torque converter to the flywheel, which will be good. That'll get all set. New mounts are in here and in the truck. High up the drive shaft. Then we have a truck that we can kind of play with shift and see how it moves. I'm really excited to get this thing going. We will have to get some new AC stuff. And we have a bunch of things that are new that we just need to put together. So that's going to be a wrap for this week's video. We'll see you guys next Saturday. We'll continue working on the truck and trying to get this engine in the truck. So we'll see you then.